Have you ever felt like happiness is just out of reach? Like a carrot dangling in front of you, you keep striving, but it always seems just beyond your grasp. It's a common experience, and often the culprit isn't external circumstances, but a force much closer to home, ourselves. We chase after happiness with grand plans and ambitious goals, only to find ourselves tripped up by our own thoughts and actions. Why is it that we, the very architects of our lives, sometimes become the biggest obstacles to our own joy? Self-sabotage is a pattern of thoughts and behaviors that undermine our own goals and aspirations, particularly when it comes to happiness and fulfillment. It's the voice that tells you you're not good enough, the force that pushes you to procrastinate on your dreams, and the fear that keeps you trapped in your comfort zone. It often disguises itself as something else entirely: busyness, perfectionism, or even a need to please others. We might convince ourselves that we're just too busy to pursue our passions, or that we're not ready to take that leap of faith. But beneath these seemingly valid excuses lies a deeper fear: the fear of failure, the fear of success, or even the fear of being truly happy. Self-sabotage isn't always a grand, dramatic act of self-destruction. It's often far more insidious, disguised as everyday habits, seemingly insignificant choices, and recurring thought patterns. It's the voice in our heads that tells us we're not good enough, not smart enough, or not worthy of happiness. It's the procrastination that keeps us stuck in a rut, the fear of vulnerability that prevents us from forming deep connections, and the perfectionism that robs us of the joy of simply trying. Self-sabotage operates on a spectrum, ranging from subtle behaviors like negative self-talk to more overt actions that directly undermine our goals. The most challenging aspect of self-sabotage is that it often operates beneath the surface of our conscious awareness. We might not even realize we're doing it, as our actions become so ingrained in our routines and thought patterns. We might rationalize our behavior, coming up with seemingly logical explanations for why we're not pursuing our dreams, or why we keep repeating the same mistakes in our relationships. This subconscious element makes self-sabotage particularly difficult to overcome. It's like having a shadow self working against our best interests, whispering doubts and fears into our ears, guiding us toward familiar, albeit unsatisfying, patterns of behavior. Section 5. Recognizing the patterns. Overcoming self-sabotage begins with awareness. The first step is to recognize the patterns in our own lives. What are the recurring thoughts, behaviors, and situations that seem to keep us stuck? Are there common themes in our relationships, our careers, or our personal pursuits? Do we tend to self-sabotage in specific areas of our lives, or is it a more pervasive pattern? Journaling can be a powerful tool for uncovering these subconscious patterns. By taking the time to reflect on our thoughts, feelings, and actions, we can begin to identify the triggers that set off self-sabotaging behaviors. Section 6. The Overthinking Trap. Our minds are powerful tools capable of incredible creativity and problem-solving, but this same capacity can trap us in a cycle of overthinking. We ruminate on past mistakes and worry about the future. This desire to control everything leads to more stress and anxiety. Ironically, it only brings more unhappiness. Section 7. The Procrastination Plague. Procrastination is another common form of self-sabotage, one that disguises itself as laziness or a lack of motivation. We put off important tasks, telling ourselves we'll do them later, when we have more time, more energy, or feel more inspired. But later rarely comes, and the tasks pile up, creating a looming sense of overwhelm and dread. This procrastination often stems from a fear of failure, a fear of success, or a combination of both. We might doubt our ability to complete the task to our own high standards, so we avoid starting altogether, protecting ourselves from potential criticism or disappointment. Section 8. the silent treatment avoiding difficult conversations. Healthy relationships thrive on open and honest communication. Yet many of us sabotage our connections by avoiding difficult conversations. We stay silent when we're hurt, swallow down our needs to avoid conflict, and pretend everything is fine when it clearly isn't. We convince ourselves that we're being nice, easygoing, or avoiding drama, but this avoidance only creates distance, resentment, and a breeding ground for unspoken anger and hurt. This fear of conflict often stems from past experiences, where vulnerability was met with criticism, rejection, or punishment. We learn to associate honesty with pain, so we build walls around our hearts, protecting ourselves from potential hurt. Section 9. Seeking comfort in familiar pain. We often sabotage our happiness by clinging to what's familiar, even if it's painful. We stay in unhealthy relationships, jobs we hate, or environments that no longer serve us because at least it's something we know. We tell ourselves that it's not that bad, that we can handle it, or that things will eventually get better. But deep down, we're often motivated by a fear of the unknown, a fear of change, and a fear of leaving our comfort zones, even if those comfort zones have become cages. Section 10. Fear of the unknown, staying safe in discomfort. The human brain is wired for survival. Our ancestors faced very real threats in their daily lives, and those who were most adept at recognizing and avoiding danger were more likely to survive and pass on their genes. This survival instinct is still deeply ingrained in us today, even if the dangers we face are often more abstract and psychological than physical. This is where our comfort zones come in. Our comfort zones represent the familiar, the predictable, the places where we feel safe and in control. Stepping outside of our comfort zones, even in pursuit of something positive like happiness, triggers our brain's alarm bells. Section 11. The weight of past wounds, how childhood shapes our present. While our brains are wired for survival, they are also incredibly adaptable, constantly shaping and reshaping themselves based on our experiences, especially during childhood. Our early relationships, particularly with our primary caregivers, lay the foundation for our beliefs about ourselves, others, and the world around us. If those early experiences were marked by criticism, neglect, or abuse, we internalize those messages, carrying them with us into adulthood. These past wounds often manifest as deep-seated insecurities, fears of rejection, and a fundamental belief that we are not good enough, lovable enough, or worthy of happiness. Section 12. The imposter syndrome, when we don't feel worthy. Imposter syndrome is that nagging voice telling us we're not as talented or capable as others think. We attribute success to luck or timing, not our own abilities. We fear being found out, of someone realizing we're not who they think we are. This often stems from a disconnect between our self-worth and achievements. Section 13. From awareness to action. The journey begins within. Recognizing self-sabotaging patterns is a crucial first step, but it's only the beginning of the journey. Awareness without action is like having a map without ever leaving the house. It might show you the way, but it won't get you to your destination. Breaking free from self-sabotage requires a shift not just in our thinking, but also in our actions. It's about making conscious choices that align with our values and goals, even when fear whispers its doubts and old patterns beckon us back into familiar territory. Start by identifying one specific self-sabotaging behavior you want to address. Section 14. The power of self-compassion, silencing your inner critic. One of the most powerful tools we have in combating self-sabotage is self-compassion. This means treating ourselves with the same kindness, understanding, and acceptance that we would offer to a close friend or loved one. It means acknowledging our imperfections, mistakes, and vulnerabilities without judgment or self-criticism. It's about recognizing that we are all works in progress, constantly learning, growing, and evolving. When we practice self-compassion, we create a safe and supportive inner environment where we can confront our fears, challenge our limiting beliefs, and make mistakes without feeling like failures. This doesn't mean ignoring our shortcomings or pretending that everything is perfect. Section 15. Small steps, big changes, setting yourself up for success. Breaking free from self-sabotage is a marathon, not a sprint. It's about making small, sustainable changes over time, rather than trying to overhaul our entire lives overnight. Just as we wouldn't expect to run a marathon without proper training and preparation, we can't expect to overcome years of ingrained patterns and beliefs without a thoughtful and compassionate approach. One effective strategy is to set small, achievable goals that align with your values and aspirations. Instead of focusing on the end goal, which can feel overwhelming, break it down into smaller, more manageable steps. Section 16. Cultivating mindfulness, living in the present moment. Our minds are expert time travelers, constantly replaying the past or worrying about the future. Mindfulness offers an antidote, grounding us in the present moment. It's about paying attention to our thoughts and sensations without judgment, savoring simple pleasures, a warm cup of tea, the sound of rain falling, the feeling of sunshine on our skin. Section 17. The gratitude attitude, shifting your focus to the positive. Our brains have a negativity bias, meaning we're naturally wired to focus on threats, dangers, and what's wrong in our lives. While this negativity bias served our ancestors well, keeping them safe from harm, it can also keep us stuck in a cycle of fear, scarcity, and dissatisfaction. Gratitude offers a powerful antidote to this negativity bias, shifting our attention to the abundance, beauty, and goodness that already exists in our lives. When we practice gratitude, we train our brains to focus on what we have rather than what we lack. We notice the simple joys, the acts of kindness, the small victories that we might otherwise take for granted. Section 18. Moving your body, freeing your mind, the power of exercise. We often think of happiness as a mental state, something we cultivate through positive thinking, meditation, or gratitude practices. While these practices are essential, we shouldn't underestimate the profound impact that our physical bodies have on our emotional well-being. Exercise, in particular, has been shown to have a powerful effect on our mood, reducing stress, boosting self-esteem, and even alleviating symptoms of anxiety and depression. When we engage in physical activity, our brains release endorphins, natural mood boosters that have pain-relieving and pleasure-inducing effects. Exercise also helps to regulate our stress response system, making us more resilient to the challenges of daily life. Section 19. The ongoing pursuit of happiness. We've journeyed through the intricate landscape of self-sabotage, unearthing its hidden roots and exposing its cunning disguises. We've seen how fear, insecurity, and past wounds can manifest as procrastination, negative self-talk, avoidance, and a reluctance to embrace our full potential. But most importantly, we've discovered that recognizing these patterns is not a cause for shame or discouragement, but rather an invitation to embark on a path of healing, growth, and lasting happiness. Remember, overcoming self-sabotage isn't about achieving some unattainable state of perfection, but about making conscious choices that align with our values and aspirations. It's about cultivating self-awareness, practicing self-compassion, and embracing the journey, knowing that there will be bumps along the way. Section 20. Embrace the journey. The pursuit of happiness is not a destination, but an ongoing journey of self-discovery, growth, and transformation. It's about embracing our imperfections, celebrating our strengths, and showing ourselves the same kindness and compassion we would offer to a dear friend. It's about releasing the need to control every outcome, learning from our mistakes, and trusting that we have the inner strength and resilience to to navigate life's inevitable challenges.